The first video on the InteliDOX prescription module discussed major features like the patient's medications list, external medications, creating and renewing prescriptions, interaction warnings, and electronic refill requests. If you need to refresh your memory on those functions, click the box in the middle of the screen to open that video in a new web browser window so you can watch it again. Then come back to watch this video, which will cover the other features of the prescription module. In this video, we'll briefly review the meds list, then show you how to mark prescriptions as stopped, reactivate a prescription that was previously stopped, archive records of lapsed or stopped scripts, change the date on which a prescription is scheduled to run out, print the patient's meds list or reprint a script, add comments to a script and optionally start a dialogue with other InteliDOX users about the script, mark active medications as verified, and indicate that a patient currently takes no medications. As you know by now, most medication-related activities are managed from the Meds screen, which you view by clicking the Meds button on the toolbar or the Patient Notes bar. Medications that the patient is actively taking will be shown at the top of the list in green, dark green for scripts generated by your practice, and light green for external medications. A red exclamation point like this next to a medication means that an exact match for the medication could not be found on the InteliDOX drug list, so drug-to-drug and drug-to-allergy interaction warnings may be incomplete. Prescriptions that have run out or lapsed are shown in yellow, and scripts that were manually marked stopped before they were scheduled to run out are shown in gray. InteliDOX automatically marks scripts as lapsed when it calculates that the patient's supply of a drug has run out, based on the start date of the script, the amount of the drug dispensed, and the patient instructions. But if the patient stops taking the drug before it's scheduled to run out, perhaps because of a reaction to the drug, you can manually indicate that in InteliDOX by stopping the drug. To do that, click on the drug, then click the Stop button near the bottom left corner of the screen. The background color of the drug will change from green to gray. Its status will change to Stopped or Stopped X if it's an external drug, and InteliDOX will automatically create a comment with the date, your InteliDOX username, and a note about the status change. If you like, you can add additional comments manually, such as why the patient stopped taking the drug. We'll discuss adding comments a little bit later in this video. If the patient resumes taking a drug that's been marked stopped, you can use the Activate button to make the drug active again. InteliDOX will ask for the date on which the patient's supply of the drug will run out. Click the down arrow button beside the date that's currently shown, then use the pop-up calendar to select the new end date for the script. When you click the Confirm button, the drug will again be highlighted in green, and its status will change back to Active, or Active X if it's an external drug, if the new end date is in the future. If a prescription was created in error, you can keep it from showing up on the patient's meds list by archiving it. To archive a script, first make sure that the script has a status of stopped or lapsed, since you can't archive active scripts. Click the script, click the Archive button, then click Yes to confirm that you really do want to archive the script. The script will disappear from the patient's meds list, but it hasn't been deleted, just hidden. To see all scripts for this patient, including archived scripts, close the Meds screen, then reopen it by right-clicking the Meds button. Archived scripts will be shown in pink. To see the list without the archived meds, close the Meds screen, then reopen it as usual by left-clicking the Meds button. If a patient needs less or more of a drug than was prescribed, and their supply of a medication is lasting longer or running out earlier than expected, you can modify the ending date of the script so InteliDOX will mark it as lapsed on the correct date. Click on the script to select it, click the Edit End Supply button, use the pop-up calendar to set the new ending date, then click Confirm. The Print button can be used to print the patient's meds list or to reprint a selected script. If you click on the word Print on this button, InteliDOX will send the meds list that's currently shown on the screen to your default printer. So, for example, if you'd right-clicked the Meds button to see archive scripts, those would be included on the report. For more printing options, click the down arrow button to the right of the word Print. Then click the option you want from the pop-up list. The medication sheet option produces the same report we saw a minute ago. If you select verbose active meds, InteliDOX will show a summary of the meds that's appropriate to print out for patients. This list doesn't print automatically, but you can click the Print button at the bottom right corner of the list to print the report, then click the X at the bottom left corner of the list to close it. To reprint a prescription if the patient has lost the original, make sure that the script you want to print is highlighted on the list and has an active status. Then select the Reprint Script option. The queued patient print options produce exactly the same output as the first three options, but instead of immediately sending the report or the script to your default printer, they send the output to the patient's print queue, so the report or script will be ready to print as the patient checks out. If any items are waiting in the patient's print queue, you'll see the Q/P button on the patient notes bar. You can use the History button to add a comment to a script, for example, to add an explanation when you stop a prescription or change its supply end date. You can also turn on an attention flag that will make the script stand out on the meds list, start a dialogue with other InteliDOX users about the script, or both. To add a comment to a script, select the script, click History, type your comment, then click Save. InteliDOX will add the date and your InteliDOX username to whatever note you typed. If you also want to flag the drug so it's easy to spot on the list, click the History button, type your comment, and click the Attention On button. You'll see that the drug is now highlighted with a red box and an asterisk in the Attention column. Once you've resolved the issue with the drug, you can turn off that flag by clicking the History button again, typing a comment, and clicking Attention Off. If you need to discuss a script with one or more InteliDOX users, use the Start Dialogue button. Click History, type a comment that will be used to begin the dialogue, then click the Start Dialogue button. InteliDOX will start a new dialogue with the subject of Patient Meds, and will automatically fill in the medication details and the comment you typed. You and the patient's primary doctor will automatically be included in the dialogue, but you can add whoever else you want to the discussion. The patient's primary doctor will be checkmarked to indicate that he or she is expected to respond next to the dialogue, but if that's not appropriate, just checkmark the user who should respond. Click the Member Selection Complete button, then Save Dialogue. When the meds list reappears, you'll see a Y in the dialogue column to let you know that a dialogue has been created about this script. As you've probably already guessed, if you use the Attention On/Start Dialogue button to begin a dialogue, not only will a new dialogue be created, but the red box and asterisk will also be displayed in the Attention column. If you click the History button, but then change your mind about adding a note, turning on the Attention flag, and/or starting a dialogue about the script, just click the X at the bottom left corner of the Meds screen. For purposes of meaningful use reporting, you should record all the patient's medications in InteliDOX and reconcile the InteliDOX meds list with any other available lists, such as med list provided by the patient or the PBM medication history list that was demonstrated in the first prescription module video. Once you've reconciled the lists and updated the InteliDOX meds list as needed, for example by adding external meds or marking any scripts that the patient no longer takes as stopped, you can mark the patient's active meds as verified by clicking the Mark All Active Drugs as Verified button. A Medication Verified comment will be added to all active and ActiveX drugs, but not to any drugs that have a lapsed or stopped status. If a patient has no prescriptions and has confirmed that they don't take any over-the-counter meds or drugs prescribed by another provider, you can still include the patient in your meaningful use reporting by clicking the Mark Patient as Having No Meds button. A No Active Medications indicator will be shown on the meds screen, but this will be removed if any scripts are created or external meds are recorded. If you have any questions about the InteliDOX prescription module, please send us email at support@busynet.com or give us a call at area code 918-858-4440, voicemail option number 2.